Trey.
Everybody's heard him.
Okay.
Trey Bell.
I'm
Come
Trey.
on
It's
up.
nice to meet you.
Yeah.
I'm talking about money today, because I want to. And so a little bit about me. My name's Trey Bell, and I have a team here locally, Bell Real Estate Group. We're out of Barrow Jackson, and I'm an operator of Market Center inside of the Atlanta Partners Group over on Conyers and Lake Oconee. And so I just did this with my team, and I'm going to start talking about this a lot because I believe that the way we think about things impacts our behavior, right? And then how we show up every day is what ultimately impacts our life. And so when I started at Keller Williams, I've been here for 10 years now. And when I started here, I was in commercial construction and real estate in Atlanta. And my dad's a home builder, my brother's a home builder. And so I was working in Buckhead, and I moved back home. And I was either going to go build or get into real estate. And I never thought I would get into real estate, just to be honest with you. If you ever work with builders, they don't like real estate people often, right? Like they don't understand it. They don't understand the amount of work you do to get paid. And my dad didn't either until my mom got licensed in 2001. And so he just thought that we were overpaid and all these things. She got licensed in 2001, and he actually saw the amount of work that she has to do to get paid. And so a new appreciation from him from that standpoint. But I always thought I'd be a builder and not doing this. And I do a little bit of both now. But that's my backstory. I started with my mom in 2014. And she had a business. She was closing probably $5 to $7 million a year, a great business. And within 3 years, we were doing over $50 million. And so just built it on the systems of Keller Williams and really just read the Red Book. I'm not that smart, but I can follow a model. And so that's been helpful for me. And when I started here too, I would hear Gary Keller say, or people just say, you can be anywhere you want to be in 5 years. And I'm a testament to that. Like my trajectory has changed tremendously twice, the last 10 years. And so in 2018, I bought a market center, and it wasn't a part of the Atlanta Partners Group at the time. So on this individual thing, I had no clue what I was doing. I kept saying, I want this, I want this, I want this. I'd see people like Jason and these people that I look to, and I'm like, I want that, I want that. And finally, I think I was a squeaky wheel long enough. Someone said, go do it. And so I bought a market center, had no clue what I was doing. And I remember laying in bed, watching the fan go around. We had just got married. We were about to have a baby. And I spent all the money I'd saved up to buy this thing. And I said, what did I do? But anytime you do something new, it's hard, right? And there's change. And so you can be anywhere you want to be in 5 years. And so when we talk about this today, everybody's in different places, and everybody's different ages. And what I don't want you to leave with is to be discouraged. What I do want you to leave with is say, hey, if I want a different net worth or trajectory for my family or my legacy or whatever it is that you're doing, I can have anything I want in 5 years if I'm willing to work. If I'm willing to work, right? And just to understand how money works, I'm not a CPA, I'm not a financial advisor. I am just a normal guy trying to figure this out too, right? And so if you want to learn anything, go teach it is what they say. And so I want to learn this. And so this is what I'm doing. So I want people to know who I am when I'm talking. And so these are my values. These are the things that I believe. Number one, I believe in excellence, right? I think the way we do one thing is the way we do everything. And so I believe that to my core. And this is who I'm trying to become every day. And this is who the people that I work with, I want them to be too, right? This is the things I believe. I believe in commitment. I always talk about my wedding ring when I talk about commitment. So my definition of commitment is doing the thing I said I would do long after the feeling I said it in has left me, right? So I think about being married, and when you're just getting married, You're excited, you're in love, like there's no problems, you haven't experienced anything yet. And so you make that commitment for better or worse, blah, blah, blah. And then 10 years into marriage, you've experienced some things, right? Or longer, or longer, or longer. But I want to be who I said I want to be when I set it in the moment. So when do we set goals in our businesses? I want this to interactive. When do we set goals in our businesses? Beginning of the year. Or probably October, November.
Last quarter.
And how are we feeling when we're setting these goals?
Unstoppable.
Unstoppable. Why do we feel that way?
Because we haven't run into any of the challenges
We
yet.
haven't faced any adversity yet, right? So when we set our goals and we say, I want to make this amount of money, in order to do that, I need to sell this many homes or do this or do that or whatever, we're excited. And then what happens like in February?
Yeah.
A deal falls apart, or something doesn't work out, or my best friend buys a house with another agent, like whatever happens, right? It's adversity. And so being committed is just saying, hey, I'm going to do what I said I was going to do, even though I may not be excited about it, or I've had some adversity, and that's who I want to be. And the third was integrity. I just simple, when what I say matches what I do, right? So I want my audio to match my video. And so integrity in business looks like, hey, I said I wanted to make this amount of money or close this amount of houses or do X or do Y. I have to actually show up that way. If I say I want to make $1 million a year, but I sleep in till 10 and I work 3 days a week, am I in integrity? Because there's no way I can get what I want by the things I'm doing. Right. So I want to be a person of integrity, and I want to strive to be that every day. And then wholehearted, I just want to do things with all my heart. Right. I get that from my mom. We're either all or nothing. Like, and so the things I'm involved in, I want to be all in. I want to be all in for the people I work with. I want to have a heart first and be compassionate and empathetic. And I just want to be all in. So these are my values, just so you know me a little bit more. So talking about money, there's two types of mindsets. We have a consumer mindset or an investor mindset. So a consumer is someone who consumes and buys, right? A consumer would ask, how much does that cost? Or a consumer makes $1 and they go and spend what she wants on how they live. Maybe they pay in their mortgage, they do this, they do that. And then if there's anything left over, maybe they'll go drop it in a Vanguard account or something like that, or whatever. An investor mindset, they're always looking for a return on their money or their time. And so an investor mindset, their first question they ask is, what will my return be? Or how much time will this give me back? So if an investor makes $1, they've committed to a plan. They invest $1 and they live on the rest and they save some, right? And so there's two different mindsets. I go in and out of these all the time. I'm a golfer. Golf is expensive. So I love to buy stuff. I like new cars. Like I want to buy stuff, right? I'm the spender in our family, not my wife. And so I have to fight this. But knowing what you want, helps you do that ultimately. So investing is nothing more than delayed gratification. And I think this is why it was so hard for me. It's trading what I want now for something better in the future, right? So if you have a great year, you can elevate your lifestyle today, or you can start investing and elevate your lifestyle in 20 years from now, or 30 years from now, or however long, wherever you're at in that cycle. And so it's delayed gratification. And the only way we do that is we think about our future, and the vision of our future has to be greater than what we want today, right? The vision of our future has to be greater than what we want today. So all of that is just to say, I want to help you think about money differently, about the money that you're making, or the money that you need to make to have the impact and the legacy that you want. So that'll drive the right behavior. Because I have a team, right? And if any of you are on a team or part of a team, or I'm just talking as a team owner perspective, I meet with a lot. We have 8 agents that work with us. And part of being on a team is some built-in accountability. some built-in, just somebody to say, to push you back in the road where you want to go and not let you get veer off too far. And so everybody on the team, they want to make X amount of money, or they want to close 30 or 50 houses a year. And that's what they want, but they get off track, right? They get off track. So part of my job is to say, hey, didn't you say you wanted this? This is what you need to do, right? Like, can we, like, help me get you back on track? And so that's what, thinking about what I want my future to be like, all those things, it helps you get them. So there's a path of money. Money is like anything else. Like, there's science behind it. People that know, do you know anybody that just knows how to make money? It's like everything they do, they make money, right? And so they figured out how money works, and they know how to unlock things, right? And they know what they have to do to go make the money work for them, right? So there's two ways that money comes to you. The first one is human capital. So human capital is like us going and selling a piece of property. I work for the money. I get up that day and I go and lead generate and do whatever I need to do and put a sign in the yard and negotiate a deal, and I get money to come into my life. I actually had to work for that money. The other thing is, the other way you make money is capital assets. Money works for you. So if you own a stock that pays you a dividend, or you've got money in an interest-bearing checking account or savings account, and that interest, you didn't do anything to earn that interest, right? It just comes to you. So I can make money through human capital, or I can make money through capital assets, and those all equal cash flow. If I'm boring y'all, just let me know. And ask questions. But that equals cash flow. So I've got four choices with my cash flow. I can spend it like a consumer, and like we have to do, have to pay to live somewhere. My house isn't paid for, right? So I have to spend it, have to buy my kids clothes. I have to feed us, and it's at least $70 at Chick-fil-A, like for a family of five. So like I have to spend money. I can save the money, right? I can save the money. So a lot of people live on the principle of I'm going to live on 80. I'm going to give 10, and I'm going to save 10, right? I think that's solid foundation, but I can save the money. I can donate the money, so I can give it to something that I'm passionate about. I can tithe at my church, like whatever it is that you do with your money. Or I can invest it. So money comes into my life as cash flow. I've got four choices of what to do with them. So there's two basic investment choices. If I choose to invest, I can lend the money to someone to invest for me, or I can go and own something and make a return off of what I've invested. So, and then there's two positions. I can be passive. What does being passive mean? I'm not actively having to manage something or do something as passive. I just shows up. Who wants mailbox money? Its profit share is a very passive form. It's not on here, but it's very passive. So if it's passive, I lend the money to a money market. So I give it to the bank that's got a money market, and they pay me 5% right now, or 4.5%, whatever we're at. I go buy a CD for a year, and it pays me 9% interest. I'm lending it to somebody else, bonds, T-bills. They control it though, not me. I don't have any say what they do with it. I can own stocks, REITs, mutual funds, whatever. So that's passive. Or I can be an active investor, and I can lend money too. I can say, hey, you want to buy a house? Here's a hard money loan, if you've ever heard of it, right? So I am lending, and they're going to pay me back on the money I've lent. But if they default, I've got to go collect that whatever's left. I'm in an active position. I can own or finance something, which means I'm still maybe operating it, or now I'm operating it and I'm financing it, but the sellers they're paying me like a bank, right? I'm having to pay them and pay interest. Or I can own a business, and owning a business, for though we're all business owners in here, is that active or passive? Yeah, it's
Very active.
Yeah, it's very active.
Every day.
You got to show up. You got to deal with people. You got to solve problems. You got to deal with customers and clients. Like, It's active. Or I can own real estate. If you own real estate, it's an active investment. I can hire a property management company that makes it less active, but if the tenant moves out and I got a property management company, I still got to get involved in some of those conversations to fix it, to whatever, to release. Like it's something that's active, and then that gives me financial return. So that's kind of the flow of money. And as we're talking about investing in the red, we work for money, or we have interest bearing something. Money comes into our life. We spend it, we donate it, we save it, we invest it, and then we can have more of a passive role or an active role, creates more returns, and it's a cycle difference, right? And that's how money flows in and out and around our life. So what's net worth? Net worth is my assets minus my liabilities. So what are some assets? House. A house is an asset. What else is an asset? Car. Car is a depreciating asset, but it is an asset. Savings account, just cash, is an asset. What else?
Stocks.
Stocks and bonds, they're assets. What were you going to say?
Investments.
Investments, they're an asset. Owning a business is an asset. Some businesses sell on multipliers, right? So if you build it, the asset grows. That's active ownership. What are liabilities?
Anybody or anything you owe anybody.
Okay, like what?
Mortgage.
Okay, a mortgage is a liability. Even though I have an asset, the liability is the amount of debt that I have on that asset. What else?
Loans, credit cards.
Credit cards, big liability, big interest rate right now too, right? What else?
Car loan.
Car loan. I've got an asset that's depreciating, and I got a note on it, right? It's a liability. Student loans. Those are a big thing for a lot of people. They go to school, they get educated, and they come out of school with some debt. Those are liabilities. If anybody lends me money, that's a liability. Anything I got to pay back, basically. Y'all get it. And we're at that point. All right, so here's some data from 2023. This is actually 2022 data, but kind of gives you a picture of where a lot of people are. The median net worth. Now, what's the difference between median and average? Middle. Median is middle, right? So we've got the super high and the lowest low. Median is right in the middle. What's average?
Average is you add them all up and divide it by the number of data sets.
Right. So if you have a lot of people on the high end, when you're getting an average, it's going to pull the whole number up, right? So just so you know the difference, the median net worth of Americans in 2022 was 192,000. In 2022, the median net worth of Americans younger than 35 was 39,000, while the median net worth of Americans aged 65 to 74 was 410. What do you think is the main factor there? Property. Owning a house. You know, you're 10 times more wealthy if you own your own real estate. Your net worth is 10 times higher nationally if you own your own house versus. I don't know that to be true about that stat, but I'm making that assumption because I think it's probably true. I mean, I know you're 10 times. I don't know if that's why that's that low. The American net worth picks up after age 35, probably because of home ownership and other reasons. In your 20s, you're grinding. In your 30s, you're finding your stride. In your 40s, you should really start earning. In 50s, right? You should really start earning in that. So after 35, your net worth goes up to 135. The median net worth is 135, 3.5 times higher than those younger than 35. Americans aged 45 to 54 had a median net worth of 250. 55 to 64 of 364. Americans aged 65 to 75 had a net worth of 410,000. And then it starts to drop off after 75. Why is that?
You spend what you save.
They're spending it. Maybe they're sick. They're using the money to do things with. Maybe they're, liquidating some things. So anyway, is that shocking to anybody?
Yes.
Okay, why?
That just seems low to me.
Okay, low.
No, I was gonna ask if you could repeat that you mentioned about renting and.
Yeah, 10 times. 10 times, your net worth is 10 times higher on average if you own your own house versus rent. Yep. But who else is shocked by it and why?
I
Who-
feel like
who's
I
not
don't know
shocked?
how I, because I'm almost 64.
Yeah.
Like, if that's all I have, how do I live for 20 or 30 more years?
She's worth.
Scary.
Yeah, it's scary.
Anybody else? All takeaways?
I don't know.
Some kind of shock back. It's like we can't process buying a house right now.
Yeah.
I'm very new to a lot of things. I mean, so like all that just comes to it's like,
You be where you want to be in 5 years. Anybody else? Okay. Kind of the opposite picture. Here's what the top 1% looks like. Top 1%. So at age 25, if the top 1% income is $650,000. So if you make more than 650, you're in the top 1% nationally. So this is in 2024, by the way. So if your net worth is 325,000 at age 25 to 30, you're in the top 1%. I'm not going to read every stat. But you can just see how it goes up and where the top is, right? Because I always want to know where the top is because I want to be in the top, right? And you can see it gets up to about 14 million is kind of the top 1% of most individuals. And that happens, it peaks at 65. And then from 65, it's a gradual decline and then it kind of balances itself out. Does anybody have a guess of why it balances itself out? Because you die.
Thank you, Sarah.
You're living on your interest and your basis never goes down.
But then people are.
And then they die.
Die.
And then they die. Well, that was back to life. They're all gonna die, right?
Yeah.
Um,
That rich.
Yes. Is this shocking anybody? Yeah. Why? Who said yeah? No?
The top 1% income is higher than I thought it would be for the lower age brackets.
Okay. I read an article when I was going through all this and it was 850 actually, and they adjusted it down. For some reason, I can't remember, but 650, yeah.
It'd be interesting to understand the demographics of, what are the, what are the jobs that allow you to make those, that kind of income?
Yeah. I think you're sitting in one right now
Small business.
that you can,
Yeah.
for the main part. Now,
Absolutely.
Wall Street and all those things, they're very high earners.
Yeah.
But I think the backbone of America is small business owners, and there's probably more people than you think that make $600,000+. It's hard to do, but I think there's a lot of people out there.
Is there a number?
I don't- I would say Google it. But I don't know. I didn't look that up. This gives me a target, right? When I look at stuff like this, it just gives me a target. What do I need to shoot? Because I want to be the top 1%. Why wouldn't you want to be? I want to do it for not really ego, because what I want out of life requires a lot of income. Does that make sense? So average net worth by age. Again, this just kind of shows the ladder. Oh, what is this? Oh, this is the top. This is the 90%. This is if you want to be in the top 10%. This is the average net worth by age. So at 45 to 54, the top 10% is 971. 55 to 64, 1.5. 65 to 74, 1.8 basically. So if you want to be in the top percent net worth, and I'm going to tell you why net worth is important in a minute, but or why it's important to me. That's where you have to be. The 75%, so basically the top 75% net worth, you can see there's a little bit of difference, but there's not a whole lot of difference. So at 35 to 44, 415, 45 to 54, 800, 1.1 at 55 to 64, and basically 1.2 at 65. That puts you in the top 25%, right? The top 25%. I already did this one. Actually, I don't know what this slide. Oh, this is the average. I don't know what that first slide is. This is the top 10%. And anyway, you can see it. 3 million basically is where it tops out to be in the top 10%. So why is net worth important? These are my reasonings, but I believe this to be true. For me, it's a scoreboard. I always want to know the scoreboard. Like, what do I have to do to win? And then it's me versus me to get there, right? And it's not a comparison. I don't compare myself against this. I just know that that's the top 1%. And the net worth is, am I tracking up? Am I flat? Or am I tracking down? That's all I do. And I update my net worth every quarter. Some people do it every month, right? But it's a scoreboard. No matter how much income I earn, it doesn't matter how much income I earn. It's what I do with the income that I do. So you may know some people that worked at GM all their life and they're worth $5 million. And they lived on a $50,000 salary and they just made their money work because they lived for like, it doesn't really matter what your income level is. It matters what you do with the income, right? And then net worth determines what my life later on looks like. You may have heard it called my freedom number or my FU number. But basically, it's the amount of whatever number I need to get to, where I can live off of the interest. Remember, we'll go back to, I can live off the capital assets. And so when I wake up today, if I choose to go sell a house or not, it doesn't matter. My lifestyle is not impacted. Maybe I want to go fishing for 2 weeks. My lifestyle is not impacted. That's a freedom number. And that's what true wealth is when I get to do what I want to do every day at the lifestyle that I want to live. And no matter what I do, money shows up, right? That's a freedom number. So net worth is ultimately my passive income engine where I don't have to physically work for money. Does that make sense?
Where does liquidity stand in all of this?
Well, liquidity is not a factor of net worth. Well, your net worth is ultimately your liquidity, but people with big net worths often have a lot of debt too, but it's servicing the debt. So they may not even have to work for it to be serviced, right? If I own a business and I'm running it like a business, I got to be present, engaged in the business, but we're leveraged in the business where I don't have to maybe work 40 or 50 or 80 hours a week to pay the debt. So liquidity is a big deal. And maybe I'll answer your question in a minute. This is from a group called the Tiger Group. Anyway, it's like an investor. It's like a club of super wealthy people. You have to have a net worth of 50 million or more to be in it. I actually know some people in it before they went through it. So it's not like hocus pocus or spooky, but it's like a private group. They get together, they talk about money, they talk about investments, they share deals back and forth. It's basically a masterminding group, but the price of entry is $50 million net worth. I wanted to show you what some of the wealthiest people in the United States, how their money is allocated. If you look right here, can't see it, 23% of their portfolio is in real estate. Pretty cool. 31% is in private equity. Anybody know what private equity is?
Venture capital.
Basically, I'm buying businesses. I'm investing in Dara, and Dara's going to go build a big business. And when we harvest it and sell it, we're going to make money from that. So I'm buying businesses. Not everybody has this opportunity, but if you're worth 50 million, you probably do.
Like the sharks.
Like the sharks, exactly. Public equities, 25% of that. What's that?
Stocks.
Stocks and bonds, things that anybody can go buy. 10 to 12% in cash. 10 to 12% in cash. You'll see that throughout. The super wealthy want to have 10 to 12% liquid that they can go do something with. When I think about when I used to think about millionaires, I think they had $1 million in the bank. Now, if I'm worth 100 million, I probably do have 10 or 12 million just in cash sitting there. But people that make a lot of money, what do they do with their money? They put it to work. So they want it working. Now, there's all kinds of things you can do, and I'm not getting into all this, but you can go buy a whole life insurance, right? Where you're investing, but you can go access the money and be your own bank. There's books about that. There's all kinds of things that you can do that you can go have access to cash, but you may not just have cash there. But I think this is just looking at these super wealthy. 10% in cash, 23% in real estate. You could even say for people that don't do private equity, a lot of their portfolios are half of real estate, right? Some public equity, so things are balanced out. Is that shocking to anybody? 10% cash, is that shocking to anybody?
A little
Yeah.
bit.
It was shocking to me.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a new thought, you know, you can build wealth through debt. You can use debt to build wealth. And if you don't maintain that 10% cash thing, you can get in a little bit of trouble too, because it's just for there if you need it, right?
Mhm.
And I've heard millionaires say that, like, I look at them and I know them and they're millionaires, but then they say something about being cash poor. I'm like, how can that be? And I understand.
What's
They've
that?
got it spread out.
It's that investor mindset
Yeah.
too, right? It's like, I got money. I don't want it just sitting in the bank.
Yeah.
Right? I want to put it to work so it makes me more money. Anybody else? Don't need coffee? All right. So in my mind, this is Trey. There's 4 levels of investing. This is the 4 stages I want to get to. Level 4 being a place where I'm actually starting to really build some kind of portfolio. The first one is I want to pay off any interest debt or debt not tied to an asset. If I've got debt and it's not tied to an asset, that's killing me, right? So I need to get smart. I think Dave Ramsey's good for a lot of people. I don't subscribe to him because I like debt to build wealth. But if you've got a bunch of credit card debt or student loans and it's just eating you up, like figure out how to get that paid for first. Live well below your means to do that, right? Because you're never going to have freedom paying 19% interest on something. The second step would be to create a reserve account, 4 to 6 months. So of your monthly cash burn, what's that? Anybody ever heard it called that?
Your budget.
Your budget. I'm going to keep asking questions until y'all start answering. Monthly cash burn is knowing how much money I spend every month. So it's my mortgage. Like I know my lifestyle is about $10,000. So I have a $10,000 a month lifestyle. So before I can save a penny, and some of that includes some forced savings. It's like I treat it like a bill. It's $10,000. So I need to net $120,000 a year to kind of just stay level. So if I'm going to actually save money, go invest money, I've got to make a lot more money, net money, right? Because the money we spend is net. I think 10,000 is a lot of people's number. Yours could be 6, it could be 4, it could be 2, it could be 20. Like I don't know, but you got to know that number, and you need to have 4 to 6 months in your savings account, like access to it before you really start doing anything. That's why. Why do you want that money? Okay, you're not stressed. Why else?
Because if you have money in investments, sometimes it's illiquid, you can't get to it. This keeps you, if you have a low cash flow month, this gets you through that.
Or let's say my kid gets sick, and that's the most important thing to me. I'm going to quit what I'm doing and spend time with them and be present. And the only way I can do that is so I know I got a little bit of room, right, to do that. This is about choice and making the right choices. If you're living month to month, you don't have those options, right? If your mom gets sick, you need to go sit with her for 2 months, and you don't have 6 months built up. You don't get to make the choice necessarily that you want to make because you haven't built that in, right? So 4 to 6 months. And then you want to begin investing or saving with intent to invest based on your net worth plan. So this level 3 is I'm going to figure out what I want to be worth. And then I'm going to back into how much income I need to do that. And am I going to go buy real estate, which you're about to talk about, or am I going to invest in public equities or whatever else, right? And then level 4 would then to create your own asset allocation plan, which is basically this: figure out what do I want my life to look like, what do I want it to be, how passive do I want my money, how active do I want to be, and then and some tax strategies, because then you're probably making more money. And you want to figure out how you can save more of your money or invest it and not give it to Uncle Sam. So what's financial freedom? Again, it's the ability to choose. So financial freedom is to choose what I want to do each day, because the money I need to live, thrive, or experience the life I want will show up no matter what I do. That's passive income. That's freedom. And your number doesn't have to be 50. It might be 2. It might be 1. It might be 5. Like, I don't know what it is, but I'm gonna show you kind of how you figure out your number. So there's two types of passive income we're gonna talk about today. Number one is real estate rental income. So it's gross rent. So I'll lease a house for $1,500 a month. That is gross rent. Then I have a debt service if I use debt. So I got a mortgage to pay or a note to pay. And I pay my taxes, insurance, and property management. What I get from that is net rental income. To learn more, go read the blue book. All right, go read the blue book. All that's in there. Here's what I see on not TikTok. I'm on TikTok. I'm on Instagram and Facebook. People that own short-term rentals. What do you see them say all the time? I made $300,000 last year on short-term rentals. What number do you think they're talking about?
Gross.
They're gross.
They're talking about gross rent. Don't be deceived by all that. They're talking about gross rent. Now, I don't know what their debt service is, what their situation is, but that's a gross rent, right? And if they're retiring and traveling to Tahiti and they got 4 rentals and they're making 400,000, they're using debt, they're probably netting like 100 grand. It's hard to travel to Tahiti and do all that stuff. That crap ain't real, right? It's not real. I'm not saying everybody's a liar on there. I'm saying don't compare your insides to people's outsides and don't be tricked, right? So the 4% rule, who knows what the 4% rule is without reading?
It's how much you're making on your money sitting in your savings and your bonds and things like that. And that's what you should live off of.
Good guess.
4%
Right now,
what you
I'm reading.
spend on your assets, where you can pull out and manage. And
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The 4% rule is, so basically whatever, when I say I am done, like I am not gonna work anymore, the amount of money that I have in a probably like a bond or market portfolio, some kind of investment portfolio. When I say I'm done, 4% of that money I can draw the rest of my life, and my basis will never go down. Right? It will never go down. So 4% rule limits annual withdrawals from your retirement accounts to 4% of your total balance in your first year of retirement. That means, so the first year, if you retire with $1 million saved in kind of an investment account, you're going to be able to take out $40,000 a year. Now you still have to pay tax on that money because that is a post-tax event, taxable event. But you can do that forever and never run out of money. 4%. If you want to know more about this, read a book from J.L. Collins called The Simple Path to Wealth, and basically what he talks about. And I've got a financial advisor that I do life insurance with. I don't do everything, because I subscribe to this for different personal stuff. But it's he talks about going and buying index funds. Anybody know what an index fund is? It's basically the whole. So I can buy an S&P 500 index. So I'm not going to pick stocks, because in his book he talks about it, unless you're a professional stock person, and some of you may be, going and picking a stock. They did 2 averages. One where people just went and learned and picked stocks, and one where you invest in an index fund. Like the one I invest in is the Vanguard Total Index. So it's basically the whole stock market. And if the stock market goes up, your money goes up. And when if it goes down, it does. But it's not one stock. And when you do that, averaged out over time, the Vanguard, the total stock or the index guy actually made more money than the guy that went and picked stocks.
The indexes of track NASDAQ or also the
Yeah.
S&P 500.
So it's personal preference. It's what you care about. You can get into a tech index. So if you just love tech, you can go invest in an index fund. It's the top 10 tech companies. Like there's all kind of funds. But you got to figure out what your strategy is. And this is a personal preference, but the 4% rule is a common rule that a lot of people abide by.
Okay, I'm like extremely inept when it comes to all this
Mhm.
stuff. And so just, I'm 47 years old, I've bounced around like job to job and all that. And like you say Vanguard, I'm like, oh, I think I have some of that somewhere. Is there a way, because I haven't done a good job of kind of consolidating and keeping track of all of it, to just kind of find out, because as a financial advisor do that, can they do that for
Find
you?
out
They-
what.
Where all your assets, like I know I have TRS, but I don't know where it is or how much is in anything.
Yeah, I'd say
I have no idea.
you could find that by just knowing where all your accounts are. Or you could hire, a financial person to do it. I don't know. I am not one. And I want to be very clear about that. I am not giving you financial advice. I'm just sharing stuff. I don't know if they can go find it based on your social or,
Yeah, that's
or
what
how
I'm
they do it.
wondering.
I have no clue. Yeah, man.
I'll connect you with Ray, and that's Ray.
Yeah.
So, just want to share this with you guys. So if you want to start investing like in tech stocks and stuff, Charles Schwab has programs where you can, you look at the price of Apple, it's like, $400 a share of Facebook or Google, where you want to get into that, they sell slices. So you're buying a piece of a stock for like $5.
Yeah.
So it's a good way to kind of get your toes into it, understand things like that. And it's not only the technology side, but, financial services or whatever you're interested in.
You should invest in what you know most about. Or if you're a dummy like me in the stock market, go buy the whole stock market. That's what I do. Because I don't have a job. I mean, my job is to do real estate, to run companies. It is not to learn about. Now, I want to know more about that because I just do, but that's not my job. My job is this. So those are the two books I recommend. Yeah. All right. So here's some examples for everybody. And I want some ahas after this. So this is an index fund example. This is assuming 8% average interest. Now I Googled this, I called my financial guy. He said, Trey, it's more like 9 to 10 over time. So I'm going to be super conservative with you just to show you what's possible. I chose $2.5 million. Somebody divide $2.5 million by 4%. All right,
$1,000 a year.
$100,000 a year. Who's ever heard that number? It's what a lot of people try to get to or want to be at or whatever. Like I couldn't operate on that, but maybe you can. But this is a $100,000 a year lifestyle based on retiring around 60 or 70, not doing anything else. I can ride this out for 30 years, right? So at age 25, from 25 to 70. So for how many years is that? 45? I'm going to invest $6,000 a year, $5,000 a month. $500 a month, and I'm going to reinvest. I'm never going to pull the money out. I'm just going to do it. It's a payment. Now, I did this for, you can be W-2, you can be a sales agent. You don't have to make millions of dollars. I just want to show you what's possible. With $500 a month, I can do that for 45 years, be disciplined, never take my money out at 8%, which is probably low. And by the time I'm 70, I'll have $2.5 million in the bank. Compounding interest is the eighth wonder of the world, right? So what other stuff costs $500 a month?
Used to be a carpenter.
Carpet, right? What else?
Car insurance.
Insurance. Well, I mean, you gotta have insurance. You don't drive. There's all kind of things we spend $500 on. That's what I'm saying. If I go to a nice dinner, it's with my wife. It's probably $200. If I do that twice, I'm almost to this $500. So it's the little things in our life we spend money on that we do love and enjoy. And you should do them. That's why you're working and making money. Do what you love. But 500 is a lot. But if you go through your budget and think about what you spend 500 on, it's probably less than you think.
Well, and can I add to that? I think for people that, especially for, like, my kids are 32 and 27. For those that have kids that are younger than that, or before they get here, like, this is such an important thing to teach them that, they don't need, the 8,000 pounds of bass speakers in their car or the fancy wheels, or like, just if they could understand the bigger picture long term and really wrap their head around it, it would just, I think about when I'm not going to be here and for my kids, like, think times are changing and we just don't have any control over that and what that looks like. I just think it's so important.
All right. So now I'm 35 to 70. So when I'm 35 to 70, if I want to be worth $2.5 million, I've got to it goes up. It basically doubles, maybe 1 point, maybe double. I don't know what the percentage increase that is, but it's more than double. So now for 35 years, I have to invest $1,125 and reinvest the gains every annual. I can't pull anything out, right? I have to do that because of compounding interest. So what's your aha there?
Get started earlier.
Uh-huh.
Let's talk about salespeople for a second. What's your average commission?
11,000.
12 to 10,000, 12,000 bucks. So let's talk about 1,100. Is it really a lot of money if you're an agent? Can you go out if you close one a month, which I know where some of us are trying to get to. We're working to get there. But you're making a $10,000, you're making a $12,000 check. And let's say you're netting 9,000 of that. I got to pay some taxes. I got 3,000 or whatever the net is. I don't know, 25% of that number. I got 7,500 to live on, right? If I sell two houses, like the way that we make money, we make a lot more money than I think we make sometimes, right? And I want to help you think differently so you will work a little freaking harder so you can have some of this, right? So it is a lot of money, but we can make a lot of money very quickly. It's not all about the money. All right, if I'm 45 and I want to be worth 2.5 million, here's what I have to do. 32,000. Now this is just index investing based on an 8% year-over-year average, doing that for 25 years now. Anybody else got an aha about these? I've got one more right here. 55. I got to put in $80,000 a year for the next 15 years to be worth $2.5. All right, what's your takeaways? The next slide is real estate. So what's your takeaways on this?
Yes. Very much. So, because they might be very bad. Like, trying to tell you, right?
Look at this. What's your name? What are you? Justin. Look how much you invest when you're 25, total investment, 270,000, and it's worth this. I got to invest 1.2 million when I only have 15 years left. Time is my friend. Time is not your enemy either. Maybe you get started. I mean, honestly, I look at this and say $7,000 a month. Your average commission is $12,000. I can do one more deal a month. I know that may freak some people out. That's how my mind thinks. If I'm 55 years old, if I can work my ass off and do one more deal a month and put all of that money into something, in 15 years, I can have $2.5 million.
Yeah, just one quick thing, because we're small business owners, we have the opportunity to do a SEP where you can save 25% of your net income as tax-free.
Sure.
So
Up to a certain amount of money, and if you make more than a certain amount, you can no longer do it. And it's got to be an individual. So there's all kind of rules like that. I'm not shutting you down. Talk to a tax person about that. I'm just showing you big thinking ideas about how to get to 2.5 million. Really, the number is 5 million that I think I'm trying to build a model to get there. It doesn't make people feel
Like it's impossible.
like it's impossible. The more time you have, you should start doing it. If you're not making enough money, work. Like it's or work smarter, do things better. And I know that sounds so cold, but it's just true. It's like what we do is not right.
And show this to your children.
I was gonna say, my parents did that in high school. They were hard on us saving, and that was my down payment. Was my high school savings. And that was how much they pressed, like, you save that money.
All right, I got 5 minutes to talk about real estate. So real estate investing. So key factors in real estate, or anybody on the team, wherever. Anybody that works in this office, you're around real estate. Number one, you know it, you understand it. So you can make quality investments because you know it and you understand it. You're oftentimes the first person to see it too. Another thing Gary Keller says is that you should be the first buyer to look at every piece of property. You should be the first person to look at it as a buyer. See if you want to buy it. See the deals first. Asset appreciates on average at 4% above the inflation rate, which is normally 2%. It's a little higher now. The asset cash flows with or without debt. And if I'm renting it, someone else is paying the debt for it, right? You can have up to 10 30-year mortgages. And here's what I think we need to be talking about in real estate. Why do you want to buy your real estate aside from net worth? Why do you want to buy it? As an individual, why do I want to buy the house that I'm living in?
Well, I don't want to pay somebody else's money.
It's
Okay,
a hedge against inflation.
hedging, why else? Equity, great, all these things, not the one I'm looking for.
Right of ownership.
Right of ownership, so my expenses are fixed. So I have fixed the amount of money that I'm gonna pay for this, or where I'm gonna put a roof over my house and raise my kids and sleep. I fixed that. If I rent a house, especially in the last 5 years, what's happened if I'm renting?
Rent goes up.
They
And
tell
who
you
has
what you're going
control
to
over
pay.
it?
They did
Or
not
they
you.
sell it out from under.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you don't have control and it's peace of mind. So owning your house too is about fixing your expenses. Now I know my expenses are $5,000 a month, no matter what. Nobody can take that away from me. Nobody can do anything, right? But anyway. And there's many tax saving strategies on real estate. It's why smart people do it. Go read about it. Here is 4% year over year. Actually, if you go back even to the 1900s, the historical trend is 4% year over year in real estate. Now we know what happened in 2000, and then we're above the trend line now. So we hope that gets back in line. Otherwise, it gets us all out of whack, and something crazy could happen. But people think prices are high, and they are high, but we're just 9% above the trend. We wouldn't have had COVID. We'd probably be tracking right at 4% right now. So 4% year over year, and y'all can't see this because it's too little. So I did some different models for this too. Can I blow this up somewhere? No.
Demetria?
So I did a model investing in 5 homes over 25 years. This is what you can expect. So if I invest in a home every 5 years, and I'm saying the home is $250, I'm going to have to put roughly, this doesn't include my primary residence. I'm going to have to put roughly 25% down. I put another 2%. So I'm going to pay lending fees, whatever I got to pay. That's just the average. My expected debt service at 7% is $1,250. My average rent expected at $250, somewhere around $2,000. So the cash flows with that at 7%. I got to put 25% down. If I do that every 5 years, so in order to put $67,000 down, how much money do I have to save in 5 years? Like 10,000 a month, 10,000 a year, something like that, 12,000. Then in 30 years, based on 4% interest, over the last 25 years, I bought a house every 5 years. I have 5 assets worth $2.6 million. Now they're not all paid for yet. The first one is, and I'm probably going to start waterfalling the payments as I go. What else is happening? Because rent goes up 3% year on year on average. It's hard to think about, but if I buy a house today for $250 in 30 years, based on the trend line, unless something crazy changes, that house is going to be worth $800,000. Who knows people that live in a house right now that's worth $700,000 or $800,000 that was worth $300,000 5 years ago? So while it seems crazy to imagine, I don't think it's unrealistic. And if the trends are true, which they have been, and we're still on this earth, in 30 years, your property may be worth $800,000. You pay $250.
I have a lady that bought hers in 1980 for $175,000, and we just had it priced for $1.5 million. She's in Atlanta.
Yep. Now, if I'm buying a piece of property for $250, am I going to be able to buy it in Buford, Georgia every time?
Nope.
Because it's probably a crap hole, right? So I may have to go buy it in other places, but it doesn't mean that this isn't true. If I stay in a metro market, and if you buy it out somewhere, who's to say there's not going to be a massive run on appreciation? People that own properties in Indian Pass, Florida, or Mexico Beach, and they bought those little dumpy spots for $150,000. Now you can't get a lot for $400,000, right? And this was a fishing town, so location always matters. Is that shocking to anybody? Surprising in a good way?
Mhm.
All right, 7 homes, and I'm gonna wrap up. 7 homes in 28 years. So I'm buying a home every 4 years. Now I've got 10, I can get 10 mortgages. I have to have the right income, I have to have the right income to debt thing, blah, blah, blah. But I can use the rent to offset the debt thing. So I can get 30-year mortgages. People that own hundreds of houses, they have to get commercial loans, but any individual can can get up to 10 mortgages if they qualify. 7 years, I start buying. In 30 years, my portfolio is worth $3.4 million. And I'm getting gross rents. This is adjusted rent in 30 years of $22,000 a month. If I have no debt, it's $245,000 a year. You know, I don't know what that is, but what I'm saying, this starts to add up. 10 homes in 40 years, one of these being your personal residence. In 40 years, the house I buy, if I can keep it, I don't have to stay in it. I just need to keep it, right? And I can start buying other properties. 10 homes in 40 years. My portfolio in 40 years will be worth $6.5 million with over $411,000 of annual cash flow. I don't know what the debt service is. I didn't do all that math. You're going to be cash flowing probably 150,000. I'm just guessing.
Mhm.
And when they're paid for, when they're paid for, I took off 25% or 10% for taxes, insurance when they're paid for. This is my net number. So talk about leaving legacies for people. All this stuff can be willed and put in a trust and tax-free and all this crap. Anybody can build a big life. It takes the engine, and I'll go back here first. For most people, one business is going to be the primary engine for all the things that they do. Mine is my sales team right now, currently. I make more money in my sales team. I do in the market centers. And so if I want a big life, I can never leave the primary engine that makes the most money. I have to stay there and make it better and better and better. If it's you and you're a salesperson, that's the engine. So crank it up and get it going, right? And you got to do it year after year after year after year. But if you could tell me that in 40 years I could be worth 7 million and I leave this earth, I can give my kids $7 million in a trust or whatever, or I don't have to, I can give it to anybody I want to. Or I could say you can never sell this property, but forever it's going to generate $370,000 of income for you forever. Is that a legacy worth leaving? And it's just time, doing the small things over time and stay committed to your plan.
I want to.
So 10 rules that I came up with, and I don't know if my rules are good or not. Monitor income and expenses monthly, set a budget, look at it, talk about it. I'm doing this with my wife now. I wasn't always. And Jason's actually helping me with this because I wanted to have a budget and like sit down with her, but we got 3 little kids. It just doesn't happen. So here's what it looks like for me. Hey, Abby, we made X amount of dollars this month. Just so you know, because I deal with the money. She's a stay-at-home mom. She wants to care about all this stuff, but she's got little kids, you know. And so I just want her to invite her in there, and I want to talk about it so it's accountability, right? Here's how much we gave this month. Here's how much we did this month. Just keep her involved. But I'm looking at it every month. Number 2, buy your primary home. And it should be your first investment property, right? Buy your primary home. Invest first in what you know and what you specialize in. So don't go picking all those Tesla stocks if you don't know anything about it, all right? Save your money, invest in what you know, or go learn about it and then invest. This is the one I'm working on, only finance cash flowing assets. So I just bought a truck. My truck payment is as much as my mortgage was when I bought my first house 7 years ago. $1,200. And my old truck was paid for. My wife's car's paid for. And I owe $50,000. It's not like I owe a lot. But cars are expensive. And so I'm going to pay this truck off, and going forward, I'm just going to, because it is an asset, but it's a depreciating asset, right? And the rules just keep you moving towards what you really want, right? Because I want freedom just like everybody else. Investing should feel uncomfortable. If it doesn't, you're not investing enough. should be uncomfortable. You should treat it like a bill every month. Like, if mine's $500 and I'm 25 years old, like, if it makes me squirm a little bit, that's okay. Because it should be. If it's easy, you're not doing it. I told you about the income stream, double down on that income stream. Update your net worth sheet quarterly, and it's nothing, you can go online and Google them, you can get one off Excel, whatever, as simple as easier. Once your finances become more complicated, get them more complicated. Have your CPA give you one, get your banker to give you one. They all have them. I use a banker sheet. But update that quarterly, and it's not to measure yourself against anybody else, but it's to see, am I doing the right, am I going in the right direction? Review your net worth sheet before any major purchases. This is one that I'm gonna start doing. Because if I would, I probably wouldn't have bought that freaking truck if I'd have done it. Right? Or I'd have, whatever, right? And then the last one is build a plan 5 times what you feel is possible and update it every year. I just did a $50 million net worth sheet and I had to really think about it. And I did that because you've heard of Brett Tanner. I got a bunch of friends in that group, Be Wealthy, and that's how you get in. You actually have to build it. I'm not going to get in it right now, but I did want to do it, and it challenged me to think bigger. And then I went through and I said, okay, what kind of income do I need to do that? And it's $950,000 is what my income needs to be. So now I got a target. I need to go make $950,000. And I need to do it year after year after year after year. And that's what I need to build. And when I do that, I could be worth $50 million. Because I'm 37. Will I do that? I don't know. But at least I built it. Now I'm thinking differently about money. And that's what I hope you're doing. It's just to think a little bit about money. And it drives some activity. Because you'll never get what you if you don't show up and work every day.
You're willing, match your want.
So that's all I got. I hope that was valuable for you.
Very
Thank you for having me.
Right.